Hi everyone and welcome to English in the Afternoon. In this video, we'll talk about the simple past tense. In the most basic form, the simple past describes things that already happened and that are no longer important to the present. For instance, she ate 3 slices of pizza for lunch. Zara opened a new store in Tehran. James Joyce wrote the greatest book of all time. I enjoyed the movie more than I expected. Each of these verbs, ate, opened, wrote, enjoyed, describe a situation that already happened. However, these verbs are not all the same. You'll note 2 of them end in ed and 2 are completely different. In order to understand this, we need to understand how verbs function. In English, each verb can appear in 3 different forms. We call these the base form, the past tense, and the past participle. We'll talk about the past participle in another video. Here, we'll just focus on the base form and the past tense. Anyway, if we have a verb like clean, in its base form, it's just clean. In the past tense, we need to put an ed at the end of it, so it becomes cleaned. Same with arrive. All we need to do to use it in the past tense is put ed at the end, and it becomes arrived. Any verbs where we can add an ed at the end in order to make it into the past tense, we call them regular verbs. The problem is that we cannot do this to all verbs. Some verbs change completely when we put them into the past tense. For instance, feel becomes felt in the past. Drink becomes drank. Sleep becomes slept. Make becomes made, and so on. These types of verbs are called irregular verbs. So if we look at our sample sentence at the top here, we can see that some of the verbs are regular and some are irregular. Ate and wrote are irregular, while opened and enjoyed are regular. Here's a list of some of the more popular verbs and what they look like in the past tense. We also frequently use the verb to be in the past tense, and we usually use it with an adjective. For instance, the car was too old, so we did not make it far. In this case, we describe the state of the car. In other words, we use an adjective old, or rather too old, to describe it. Or we can say, I was tired from reading too much. Again, we use the adjective tired right after the verb to be. This is all actually very similar to the simple present, if you remember. In the present tense, we say I am sick. And in the past tense, we say I was sick. In the present, the flowers are beautiful. In the past, the flowers were beautiful. If we want to put these sentences into the negative form, we will need to use did not between the subject and the verb. For instance, with our sample sentence from the previous slide, instead of saying she ate 3 slices of pizza for lunch, we would say she did not eat 3 slices of pizza for lunch. Just remember, when we use did not to negate a sentence, the main verb goes back to its original present tense form. See here in the negative, it is no longer ate, but eat. Same with the other examples. Zara opened a new store in Tehran would become Zara did not open a new store in Tehran. The verb open goes back to its present tense form. James Joyce wrote the greatest book of all time becomes James Joyce did not write the greatest book of all time. And I enjoyed the movie more than I expected becomes I did not enjoy the movie more than I expected. If we want to ask a question in the simple past, we need to change the order of the subject and the verb did. In other words, we will need to begin the sentence with did, as in, did your boss tell you to finish the Johnson file? Did anyone break the record set by Usain Bolt? Did Shakespeare write Romeo and Juliet? We can also use the verb to be to ask questions. For instance, was Ronaldo born in 1984? Were all these pictures painted by Da Vinci? Were you awake when the accident happened? Okay, now that we know how to make a sentence in the simple past, let's talk about what it actually means. To use our time map here, the middle point being the present moment, when we use the simple past, we are actually talking about something that happened in this left side of the diagram. In other words, something that happened in the past. Note, for the most part, it does not matter if something happened 2 minutes ago or 2 months ago or 200 years ago. The past is the past. So when we have a sentence like, we went to see a movie last night, we are basically saying that this action happened in the past and that it finished in the past. It is no longer connected to anything that is going on right now. Same with, he was born in 2002, or Apple introduced the new iPhone in Los Angeles. It's something that already happened. It's done. It will not be repeated. So we use the simple past when describing a situation that happened and is no longer of any consequence to the present. This little difference will be important in future videos when we talk about other tenses. Okay, let's do a simple exercise. All you have to do here is complete the sentence with either the regular or irregular version of the provided verb. You can pause the video here and I'll give you a minute to complete the exercise. All right, let's take them up. Number 1, Frank Sinatra wrote many songs for other famous singers. Number 2, Rafa Nadal won the most French Open titles of any tennis player. Number 3, I did not enjoy the fish all that much. Number 4, the students from San Francisco were not impressed by the Statue of Liberty. Number 5, Alex drove from New Delhi to Jaipur in less than 5 hours. Number 6, Tamara felt sick after she ate the old cookie. Number 7, the automobile was invented in Germany over 130 years ago. Number 8, Steve read every book in the town library. Note, the base and the past tense of the verb read are actually spelled the same, but pronounced differently. In the present tense, we say read, and in the past tense, we say read. You really need to look at the context of the sentence to know which one to use. Number 9, my sister did not want to open the door because she was too scared. And number 10, did Montreal host the Olympics in 1988? Excellent work as always. See you guys in the next video.